If you loved Cairn, you've already understood the magic. That rare blend of freedom to choose your path, real tension in every move, and the feeling that nature is the final boss the entire time. Cairn throws you onto Mount Kami with a focus on technical climbing, survival, and resource management, making every conquered meter feel like a hard-earned personal victory. Now, what if I told you there are other games that hit that same note, each in their own way? So settle in, because I've picked out 10 games that everyone who enjoyed Cairn needs to put on their list. I'm Mary, and the video is about to start. If you enjoyed Cairn for the climb as a journey vibe and the silence that speaks volumes, Jusant is the kind of game that grips you without making a sound. A very contemplative climbing game where you scale a colossal tower trying to understand what happened to that place. It was developed and published by Don't Nod and released on October 31st, 2023 for PS5, PC via Steam, and Xbox Series, and it also launched on Game Pass. What I find most incredible here is how climbing isn't just press to go up. The game gives you separate control of your hands via the triggers, and that totally changes the feel of movement, as if every meter gained were a physical micro-victory. You manage stamina, rest on the wall to recover, and there's the clever detail that jumping is costly because it reduces your maximum stamina during the climb, so haste becomes the enemy of planning. The other catch that won me over is the climbing kit becoming level design language. You use ropes and carabiners for safety and place pitons to create manual anchor points that function as risky checkpoints, and they regenerate when you reach a safe area. This opens room for improvisation, for trying alternative paths, and the game even encourages you to look around because not everything is solved by following the most obvious track. And that's where the emotional spice comes in. Jusant is a game without dialogue, telling its story through the environment and the traces of a civilization, so the narrative comes from that void full of meaning. You don't climb alone, you have ballast, a creature made of water that accompanies you, helps reveal clues, and wakes up nature. And to me, he works as that silent companion who makes the ascent less lonely without ruining the atmosphere. If you were fascinated by the solitary journey and sense of overcoming that Cairn delivered, but want to experience that same sense of discovery with a much more relaxing atmosphere, you need to check out Sable. Developed by the indie studio Shedworks, this is an open-world exploration game that puts you in the shoes of a young girl on her rite of passage. What impresses most at first glance is the visuals, all hand-drawn and heavily inspired by the incredible art of comic artist Mobius and Studio Ghibli Animations, creating an alien desert that looks like a living painting on your screen. The direct connection to what we love in climbing games lies in the movement, which is the heart of the experience. Just like in recent adventure classics, you have a stamina bar that dictates the pace of everything you do while climbing ancient ruins, giant statues, and spaceship wreckage. The difference here is that there's no weight of punishment or enemies to get in your way, as the game has no combat at all. The challenge is purely understanding the environment, calculating your climbing routes, and using your ability to glide through the air in a magic bubble to reach places that seemed impossible. But you won't explore this massive map only on foot or by climbing, because your main traveling companion is Simone, a fully customizable hover bike. Crossing the sand dunes with the vehicle is one of the best feelings in the game, and you can buy new parts to change the look, top speed, and handling of your navigation. The world is dotted with camps and eccentric travelers who give you organic and very well-written quests, turning every trip into a true hunt for secrets and items forgotten in the sand. Ultimately, Sable's journey is about self-discovery and the weight of choosing who you want to be in the adult world. The main goal of this rite of passage is to interact with people to obtain different cultural masks, and in the end, decide which one will define the protagonist's role in society forever. All of this is wrapped in an incredibly moving soundtrack composed by the band Japanese Breakfast, which gives a melancholy and beautiful tone to your desert solitude. It's one of those indie gems that respects your time and leaves you immersed for hours without you even noticing.
Stars seem far away. I can't be blinded by the dark.
Developed by independent creator Adam Robinson Yu, a short hike puts you in the shoes of Claire, a teenage bird on vacation in a nature park who needs to reach the top of the highest mountain on the map for one very common reason. It's the only place on the island with cell phone reception. It sounds like a simple premise, but it's the perfect excuse to turn you loose in a tiny but incredibly dense and charming open world. The connection to modern climbing games lies in the progression mechanics, which revolve around managing your stamina. Since Claire is a bird, she can glide freely, but to gain altitude, climb walls, or perform double jumps, you need to use golden feathers, which function as your energy bar. The gameplay loop is genius. You explore the island, find or buy these feathers, increase your maximum stamina, and with that, you can access higher areas of the mountain in a system that feels much like the progression in Breath of the Wild, just on a miniature scale. But what makes a short hike so special isn't just the challenge of reaching the top, but all the little distractions the game puts in your path. The map is filled with other animals enjoying their vacation, and interacting with them leads to delightful side quests, like racing a rabbit, helping a frog find a shovel, fishing, or hunting for hidden treasures. You are free to ignore the main path and get lost flying from one side to the other, enjoying the 3D pixel art style that looks straight out of the Nintendo DS era, accompanied by a dynamic soundtrack that changes based on what you're doing. It's a game that respects your time. If you go straight for the objective, you can see the credits in about an hour and a half. However, doing that means missing the magic of the experience, because Claire's journey is about slowing down, enjoying the moment, and understanding that the path to the summit can be much more important and fun than the finish line itself. It's that short, affordable experience made with so much heart that when it's over, you just wish you could erase your memory to play it all over again for the first time. Peak is a true indie phenomenon that was born from a game jam between Landfall and Aggro Crab Studios and simply exploded on Steam in 2025. The premise here is to put you in the shoes of scouts on a mysterious island, where your only chance of rescue is to scale a colossal mountain located right in the center of the map. However, unlike the solitary and introspective journey we saw in Cairn, the vibe here is pure cooperative survival with a high dose of chaos. The climbing mechanics are the heart of the experience and shine because they are entirely physics-based. You can join a group of up to 4 people, and teamwork isn't optional. It's mandatory to survive. You'll need to physically help each other climb higher ledges, share equipment, and hammer pitons into the rock to create safe rope routes for whoever's coming up behind you. All of this while managing a relentless stamina bar, where every wrong move or slip doesn't just hurt you, but can put the entire group at risk of plummeting. But what really caught me by surprise is that Peak hides a very competent survival system behind its colorful and messy visuals. During the ascent through the mountain's different biomes, you need to scavenge the scenery for food of questionable origin to maintain your energy and treat serious injuries, as any wound decreases your maximum stamina. To keep things even more dynamic, the mountain layout changes every day, bringing new obstacles every 24 hours. And the proximity voice chat is the icing on the cake, leading to absurd moments of tactical negotiation that quickly turn into screaming when someone misses a jump. It's fascinating to see how such an unpretentious project managed to sell millions of copies in a very short time and dominate the internet. It captures that essence of viral games that test friendships, but delivers an incredibly rewarding gameplay loop for those who like to plan routes and overcome challenges as a team. If you enjoy deep climbing mechanics, but want to have a good laugh watching your friends tumble down a mountain in pure despair, this is the next indie that needs to be in your library. Gather your crew, get your headset ready, and face that wall, because the experience of reaching the top is worth every penny.
Oh, okay, you guys are going that. All my hunger.
New Heights is an incredible indie project currently in early access on PC, developed by the Dutch studio Wikkelworks, which is basically made up of real-life climbing enthusiasts. Hardly anyone is talking about this gem, but the premise is bold: to deliver the first game that truly captures the physics and complexity of authentic bouldering and mountaineering. It's an experience made by people who understand the sport, for those who want to feel the adrenaline of mastering a stone wall right from their keyboard or controller. What will blow your mind right away is the climbing system, because there is no magic button to simply press and jump to the next ledge. You have to individually control each arm and leg, manage your center of gravity, and understand how your body physics affects your grip. The game uses a brilliant visual system where the hold points change color depending on how firm your grip is, taking into account the direction of your force and the distribution of your weight at that exact moment. This means you'll have to apply real climbing techniques to progress, calculating every body sway so you don't plummet because of a silly mistake. Another detail that drove me completely crazy was the environment design, as the developers used drones and photogrammetry to scan real-world mountains and cliffs and put them directly into the game. You start your training in an indoor climbing gym to get the hang of it, and gradually unlock incredible locations across Europe, ancient castles, and even structures where climbing would be prohibited or extremely dangerous in real life. The sense of scale is terrifying in a good way, and exploring these complex routes in free mode brings an absolute sense of freedom. The level of detail is so insane that you can almost feel the texture of the rock as you search for the next crack to jam your hand into. The journey in New Heights is about patience, personal growth, and the reward of conquering the impossible. As you progress through the more than 100 available routes, you earn stars for not falling or for beating specific times, improving your character's attributes and unlocking new equipment to face even greater challenges. It's a game that teaches you to read the environment around you and celebrate every meter conquered as if it were the greatest victory of your life. If you like deep mechanics that challenge you to think outside the box and truly master the controls, put the simulator on your list right now and get ready for some high-altitude cold sweats. If you finished Cairn with sweaty palms and fell in love with that feeling that every little movement matters when climbing a mountain, there's a recent release that embraces that same philosophy in a completely absurd and hilarious way. The game is called Baby Steps and arrived in late 2025 for PlayStation 5 and PC, carrying the crazy quality seal of Devolver Digital. Here, you play as Nate, a 35-year-old unemployed guy who spends his days in his parents' basement wearing a onesie until he's magically teleported to a mysterious fog-filled world. But the big twist of this new adventure isn't fighting giant monsters or saving princesses. It's the simple, pure act of trying to put one foot in front of the other without falling flat on his face. The genius connection to the tense mountaineering mechanics we saw in Cairn lies in the movement control, which is the heart of everything. Forget pushing the controller stick to make the character walk automatically. In Baby Steps, you control each leg individually, using the triggers to lift your foot and the analog stick to choose exactly where to step with total precision. The result is a literal walking simulator that is entirely physics-based, where the simple fact of crossing a wooden bridge or stepping up a stone ledge becomes a complex balance puzzle. Every step requires patience and planning, because if you lean your body the wrong way or misstep, the protagonist will trip, roll down the hill, and lose precious progress. But what makes this experience so addictive is exactly how the game mixes brutal frustration with incredibly well-done slapstick humor. The world around you is beautiful and full of eccentric characters who don't understand why you're struggling so much to do something so basic. The scenery was designed with enormous intelligence to punish you for rushing, but also to reward you with alternative routes or wonderful views if you have the calm necessary to focus on one step at a time. Furthermore, the soundtrack reacts dynamically to your pace with hundreds of different beats, creating an atmosphere that tries to calm you down exactly when you're about to get very angry for slipping in the mud. Knowing that this project comes from Bennett Foddy, the same brilliant and sadistic mind behind punishing games like Getting Over It and QWOP, explains a lot about the tone of the challenge. It's a journey tailor-made for those who like to be tested to the limit and can laugh at their own virtual misfortune, turning anger into pure satisfaction when they finally master the walking mechanic. If you like this idea of deconstructing something so mundane in video games to turn it into a colossal challenge of physics and patience, you need to give Nate a chance. Put on your best pajamas, prepare your psyche to trip a few hundred times, and face this insane mountain, because the feeling of getting to the top is worth every fall along the way.
Oh crap!
Death Stranding puts you in the role of Sam, a delivery man on a planet broken by a bizarre event, and your mission is to reconnect isolated communities, except every climb, descent, and river in your path becomes a real problem, because weight pulls you, the terrain knocks you down, and the weather changes your route. The loop is delicious precisely because it seems simple until you play it. You choose what to carry, ladders, anchors, equipment, stack boxes on your body, and start walking with that tension of, if I slip here, it's over. The game makes you think like a logistical mountaineer, looking for safe passage, crossing cliffs, improvising bridges, using tools at the right moment, and deciding when it's worth carrying more or going light and fast. And when you understand that, every delivery stops being a mission and becomes your own story, the kind you remember because it was hard-earned and won. Now comes the detail that makes many people change their minds halfway through. Death Stranding has an indirect multiplayer that I think is genius, the social strand system. You build structures, bridges, generators, roads, towers, and other players can see and use them in their worlds. And the game turns this into a chain of kindness where you literally say thanks with likes. And yes, it gives you a real warm feeling when you find a perfect ladder placed by someone at the exact right time. The feeling is of being alone in nature, but never truly isolated. And most importantly, it's not just walking. It's a game about rhythm, vulnerability, and how a walk can turn into a psychological battle when the world wants to separate you from your goal. There are tense parts with threats and stealth, but what really stays with you is the trip, that silence broken by wind, the music coming in at the right moment, and you understanding that the path is the point. If Cairn caught you through climbing as a language, Death Stranding catches you through the crossing as an identity. You don't just go to the destination, you learn to exist in the journey. If you enjoyed Cairn for that feeling of a silent journey towards a peak that keeps calling you from the horizon, Journey is practically that in the form of playable poetry. You control a cloaked figure crossing a vast desert with a single clear goal: to reach the top of a distant mountain. It was developed by That Game Company and originally released on March 13th, 2012 on PlayStation, with later versions for other platforms. And the beauty is that it explains almost nothing to you. It just puts you in the world and lets you feel it. The gameplay is simple but full of intent. Walk, jump, and emit a musical sound, and your scarf functions as a kind of energy for you to glide and fly for short periods. By finding special symbols, you increase the size of the scarf and gain more flight time, which changes how you navigate dunes, ruins, and abandoned temples. And there's a catch I love. Your sound interacts with fabrics or elements of the environment, reviving certain structures and opening paths in a very organic way, almost as if the world responds to your presence. Now, the reason Journey is so unforgettable for so many people, and where it speaks most to that pleasant loneliness of Cairn, is the unique multiplayer. You can meet another player in the same area, but the game doesn't tell you who they are. There's no chat, no name on the screen. Communication becomes just movement and that musical sound. And when you stay close to each other, you can share energy and recharge your scarf, creating moments of silent partnership that seem unlikely, but happen naturally. To me, that's the kind of design that creates real memories. A stranger helping you without saying a word, just through the gesture. And the narrative? It exists, just in the most elegant way possible. No text and no narration, told through cutscenes and fragments scattered in the ruins, leaving room for interpretation. The journey is divided into linear sections with light puzzles and a progression that changes tone as you approach the mountain and the environment becomes more hostile. It's a short game, about 2 to 3 hours, but with a huge emotional impact, the kind where you finish and sit still for a few minutes as if you've just come back from a real hike. If you loved Cairn for the sense of a silent journey and the contemplation that comes with the challenge, ABZÜ is the perfect aquatic sibling. Instead of climbing a mountain, you dive into a giant, mysterious ocean, guided more by curiosity than arrows or noisy objectives. It's an adventure focused on exploration, without combat, that puts you in control of a diver and lets you simply exist in that marine world full of color, ancient ruins, and a somewhat spiritual energy that pulls you deeper and deeper. What caught me first is how movement is part of the fantasy. Swimming in ABZÜ doesn't feel like walking underwater, it feels like choreography, with very free analog controls and a graceful swim that makes you want to do acrobatics just because. And then the game makes the ocean respond to you. You can interact with massive schools of fish, see predators circling, use a kind of sonar to call or affect the life around you, and even grab onto larger animals to be carried across the map, which creates those moments of pure peace that you don't forget. But ABZÜ isn't just relaxing. It has a clear sense of progression with interconnected areas and a linear narrative trek through different biomes, always suggesting that something is wrong in that ecosystem. Gradually, you activate key points that restore marine life and piece together clues of what destroyed that balance, all without dialogue and without direct exposition, in a way that lets us fill in the gaps with our own interpretation. There are even moments out of the water in specific areas, which provides a cool contrast to the fluidity of the dive. In the end, I see ABZÜ as the kind of game you don't beat, you pass through, and when the credits roll, it feels like you've returned from a real trip. If Cairn gives you the catharsis of conquering height, ABZÜ gives you the opposite catharsis, sinking into the unknown and realizing that the ocean, even when silent, is full of life watching you. It's short, intense in feeling, and perfect for when you want a more sensory, more intimate experience that trusts the player to feel the story without needing to explain everything.
If you loved Cairn for the idea of facing nature as a puzzle and feeling that good solitude of a journey, Outer Wilds is one of those games that feels like it was made for you. An open-world space exploration where your only real progression is knowledge. You wake up on a small, cozy planet, gain access to your ship, and suddenly you're loose in an entire solar system that functions as one big mystery to be unraveled by curiosity. No quest list holding your hand, no map marker saying go here now. The hook that makes it stick in your head is the 22-minute loop. You have that much time to explore before everything resets, and every attempt becomes a different expedition, depending on what you decided to investigate. The coolest part is that you don't get stronger in the traditional sense. What remains is what you learned, what you connected, and what new questions were born in your head. That's why you can theoretically finish it quickly or spend dozens of hours, because the game respects your pace and your ability to put the pieces together. And when I say exploration, I mean real exploration. The physics system rules everything, from piloting the ship and landing carefully to understanding gravity, inertia, and how each planet changes over time. You use simple but very smart tools like a translator to read ancient messages and piece together the story, along with equipment that helps you recognize dangers and follow signals. Every discovery in one place usually opens a mental door to another, not because you picked up a key, but because you finally understood how that world works. The reason I recommend it so strongly to those who like that Cairn vibe is that Outer Wilds is, at its heart, a game about crossing the unknown and learning to trust your own observation. There are moments of pure peace looking at space, and there are moments of panic when you realize you made a wrong bet and the planet is literally changing under your feet. And this creates unbelievable personal stories, the you won't believe what happened to me kind. Just a friendly warning, avoid spoilers at all costs, because the game is built on the pleasure of discovery.